And it came about during this year that a most dread portent took place. For the sun gave forth light without brightness, like the moon, during this entire year. And it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse, for its beams were neither clear nor such as it is accustomed to shed. And during this time men were free neither from pestilence nor war, nor any other thing that leads to death. Procopius, Byzantine historian. And on that cheery note, welcome to ADHD History, the show where we take large historical concepts and break them down in way too little time. By ADHDers, for ADHDers. And the topic we're going to be dissecting today is the mysterious and apocalyptic event that occurred in the early 6th century. The year is 536 of the Common Era. The Byzantine Empire, or should I say the Roman Empire, is led by a man named Justinian I, who is working on a project to restore the former boundaries of the Roman Empire before its catastrophic losses in the 5th century. 2 years earlier, Roman troops had invaded the Vandal kingdom in North Africa and reasserted Roman dominance there. And in the same year as the event, in the spring, Belisarius, a legendary Roman general, had marched troops north from Sicily into southern Italy, and over the next couple of decades would reassert a somewhat tenuous control over the peninsula. But we're here to talk about the event. So in 536 Common Era, something darkened the sun, causing grain shortages, cooler temperatures, frosts during harvest. Famine is documented by the Romans during this time. And as for what actually happened, we suspect it was volcanic eruption. We don't know what volcano. There's some speculation, but we don't really know. In any case, for about a year and a half, the sky was dark and harvests were limited. So as you might imagine, this had some long-term fallout. First things first, in Rome, it kind of didn't have a ton of long-term effect unless we go with the somewhat speculative theory that the cooler temperatures allowed the rats that had previously been further south to move north into Alexandria, bringing with them Yersinia pestis, the Black Death. And this would be the first outbreak of the Black Death in Europe, and it was quite devastating to the Romans. Their economy never fully recovered, and 100 years from now, when they are invaded by the greatest threat to their existence, which I will be talking about in next week's video. But for now, let's leave the Romans, because they got off relatively easy. Let's, even if you count the plague as caused by the eruption, let's go look at Scandinavia. They were decimated. The cold and dark in a place that already kind of was on the edge of inhabitable. Their populations plummeted, and their entire social order caved in on itself. We know very little about the social order, but Scandinavia saw a tremendous collapse, and the orders that would rise in the wake of this in the next few decades would create the conditions necessary for the Viking Age to begin. Elsewhere in Europe, there were famines and problems. We have records from Ireland of famines. But what's fascinating about Scandinavia in particular is how this seems to feature into their religion. That there's this idea of Fimbulvetr, or the Thimble Winter in English, that is this apocalyptic extended winter that destroys human civilization and causes wars and famines. And it's very possible that this idea of the apocalypse being an extended winter comes straight out of this event that the ancestors of the people who would be telling stories of Fimbulvetr around the fire lived through. This video might be a little bit shorter this week. I just thought it was something interesting that I'd come across recently, and it really does serve as a precursor to two major topics that I'm going to be talking about a lot in upcoming videos: the Viking Age and the rise of Islam. Oops, spoilers. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and hit all the buttons that they tell you to hit, and you can drop comments, ask any questions, and thanks for watching. Bye.